Good afternoon and welcome to our panel conversation, The Caregiving Journey, a conversation with family caregivers. My name is Juliana Valencia and I am a social services specialist with Fairfax Area Agency on Aging. In May of 2020, AARP and the National Alliance for Caregiving presented Caregiving in the U.S. 2020, a comprehensive report that stated that there is an estimated 53 million adults in the United States who have provided care to a loved one within the past 12 months. The report also included that caregivers in the United States provide 37 billion hours of unpaid informal care each year. Family caregiving spans across all generations, and it includes spouses, partners, adult children, any relative, friends, or neighbors who are going to provide care and assistance to a loved one due to aging, chronic illness, or a disability. And they provide care due to the relationship they have with the person they're caring for, as an expression of love, as an expression of concern, due to family values and expectations, due to cultural traditions, and many other reasons. Usually, family caregivers are not paid for what they do. And we know that when a person becomes a caregiver to a loved one, new challenges and stresses are going to arise, as well as moments of joy, a deepened sense of connection, purpose, and meaning in life. Our goal for this conversation is for you to hear personal stories from 3 family caregivers who will share their experiences, challenges, resources, and tips for self-care to help you well in this journey. During today's panel conversation, we will allocate a few minutes for you, the audience, to submit your questions to our panelists using your Q&A box on your panel. A few housekeeping rules before I introduce our panelists today. Today's presentation is being recorded, and a recording is going to be sent out to all of you by early next week. Also, at the end of the presentation, there will be a brief survey. If you could take a few minutes to answer those questions, because it really helps us provide topics that you are interested in. Now, I would like to introduce my 3 panelists. We have 3 family caregivers with us. Our first panelist is Ms. Benita Bernadette Bevtard, who is a retired government official who first became a caregiver in 2010 when she brought her 90-year-old mother to live with her and her husband. And later, in October of 2012, her husband suffered a massive ischemic stroke, resulting in a brain bleed. And after being in a nursing home for rehab, he was brought back home where Ms. Bevtard has been taking care of him ever since. Our next panelist is Mr. James Kill, who is a retired veteran and has been taking care of his wife, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 12 years ago. Mr. Kill has gone through different adjustments, life changes of being a caregiver, and we will have the opportunity to hear his journey today. My last panelist is Sarah Rodriguez, who is a long-distance caregiver and a volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association. She has become an advocate for other Hispanic family caregivers who are going through similar situations, and she's currently facilitating a caregiver support group with the Alzheimer's Association. Thank you to the 3 of you for being here. And if I would like to bring Mr. Kill to the stage as well. I don't know if Mr. Kill could turn his camera on and his mic on. But while we are, there you are. Thank you so much, the 3 of you, for being here. And I would like to start this conversation first by asking you if you could share a little bit about who you are, about your loved one, and about how your caregiving journey began. So let's start with Ms. Bevtard, and then we're going to move on to Mr. Kill, and then we'll move on to Sarah.
Hi, how are you? I'm happy to be here today. I'm Bernadette Bevtard, and I retired from Fairfax County in 2017. And I currently care for my husband, Frederick Durango, my husband of 19 years. Frederick has an undergrad business degree. He has a master's in business, and he has a master's in Bible. And he was like an entrepreneur and into a lot of, also a very person that had a nonprofit helping other people. So he was a very vibrant person. When he was stricken in the wee hours of October the 6th, 2012, that's when my caregiving journey with him began. After a day working in the yard and later attending a performance at GMU Center for Fine Arts with my 91-year-old mother and I, who we were both caring for at the time. Frederick was stricken with his fourth, but a major, this time, major ischemic stroke. Frederick, he and I, like I said, he and I were caring for my mom at the time. Upon returning home, I fell asleep on the sofa as usual, and he went up to bed. I joined him around 4 a.m. and joked and laughed with him as I turned off the light and got into bed. He teased me also, but I continued talking. And after a while, I realized that, my goodness, I don't hear anything. So I started to turn off the light and go back to bed and just go to sleep. Like that's what I normally do. But something caught me, something said, oh no, give him a hard time. I'm always teasing him that I'm an extrovert and he's an introvert and he doesn't listen to what I say. So I got up and turned on the light. And I started shaking him on his chest. I said, you're not listening to me, you're ignoring me. And I looked, and then I happened to look and notice that his eyes were darting back and forth. And I said, oh my goodness, this is a big one. And so it was just rapidly going back and forth. So he was rushed to Ruston Hospital and then sent to Fairfax Hospital, where he was in neurological intensive care for 1 month. Due to the extent of the damage from his ruptured vessel, he suffered extensive bleeding in the brain and was in danger of expiring if the pressures on the brain couldn't be relieved. So I consented to a craniotomy, and I think you might have a picture of some of that. And a craniotomy is where they move a part of the skull. It's the other one with the two. They remove a part of the skull, and in order to relieve pressure, and so until the brain heals. So for the next few months, he was in a coma. And what happened that day, it just so happened that the doctor did not take out enough brain tissue. So the very same day after his ischemic stroke, major ischemic stroke, after he had the craniotomy in the morning, then they had to go back in and do a second craniotomy. Well, a second procedure in the brain. So I think that might have had something to do with our progress. But a second craniotomy that day. So my friends, that was the beginning of such a journey for us. Frederick was on life support, had stomach tube, and was very near death. He had a trach. Well, finally, we were able to get him off of the life support and onto a trach, and then onto a trach that was the correct size where a rehab center would take him. The stress during that 1 month in neurointensive care, I don't know how to explain it to you. So eventually, in about a month, he was released. We finally got a rehab center to accept him. And then he was there for 1 year. But like I say, he was in a coma when he was there. And after they put the bone back in his skull, like maybe in like he went in November 2013. Maybe it was like February or March 2012 he left there, but they put the bone in February or March 2013. Then he began to come back a little more. And eventually we were able to take him off the stomach tube, get him off the trach. I think the prior picture showed when he first got off the stomach tube, and they put the bone back in his head. But this type of injury takes 5 to 10 years. It's just a long, long journey. The first year or two, every hospital knew us because the body is weak. You have pneumonia, you have blood clots, every kind of thing. And seizures, yes. There have been so many times I thought he was gone. And I go in and he bounces back. So, but the recovery is very slow. So like I say, after a year in a nursing home, I brought him home. And he improved a lot after coming home. He's a native of Kenya. We incorporated a lot of cultural things, especially too when he was in the coma, of his native culture things to help him. They say that that really helps somebody in this impaired mental state. So that appeared to be effective. And now he is mentally very sharp. He understands 3 languages, his native Kikuyu, Swahili, English, but he's paralyzed on one side. He can't walk. He has aphasia, so he can't talk but a few words, and he's still learning words here and there. But we try to make the best of life. And as you see on some of the photos, we are there at a performance there at the Atlas Theater, sponsored by the Fenwick Foundation. And there's some photos there of the beach, Myrtle Beach, I think, and Hilton Head Island. So we do try to go. He loves resorts because he loves the bed there. I don't know why, but he loves to get in the bed at a resort. So, and he goes to the adaptive gym. I hope there may be a photo of that also. So it's been a long journey, a long road, but I knew that Frederick was one person that would push to get well. So that made me push for him. I thank you for letting me share my story.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bevtards. I really appreciate that you are sharing that with us. Mr. Kill, do you want to share about your caregiving, how your caregiving began, a little bit about you and your loved one?
Absolutely. Cut me off if I go too long because I like to talk. I'm going to try to bring up a PowerPoint here that shows our life like it used to be. I don't know if it's working for me or not. So anyhow, maybe next time. I'll start off with the positive side of we've been married. We'll be married 48 years in December. When I ask her to marry me, she says, I'll get back to you on that. So it took a while. We met in October and got married in December. So it was really a long relationship there. But when I called her back to ask if she had considered my proposal, she told me that she was really taking it under serious consideration, as we'd both been married before. And it was a serious thing to talk about. So I told her that I would throw in a registered quarter horse mare and a milk cow. And she said, was next month okay? And our relationship went on from there. I guess when I worked construction after I got out of the Army for about 40 years and became disabled. At that time, she took up our major support because my income went from whatever it was down to about $2,000 a month. And she went to work as a computer consultant. We sold our home, bought a motorhome, and started traveling the country, which we did for 9 years. And at the end of this 9 years, we bought a house in Texas, and things were going great. I mean, she was earning, $80,000 to $100,000 a year, so my little bit didn't matter. And but towards the end of this, she had a job in Jacksonville, Florida. I was at our home in Texas, and I was traveling back and forth. I'd spend 2 weeks. I had spent 2 weeks in Texas and 2 weeks with her in Florida because I was involved in our church and running the office there and so on. I had responsibilities. And then all of a sudden I noticed changes were happening, that bills weren't getting paid. I was getting calls from bill collectors because she handled all that. She was the computer whiz and everything was done online. So I called her and I let her know what was going on. She said, I'll take care of it immediately. And then, you know, a couple of days later, I get another phone call. So I realized something was going on, something wasn't right. So I jumped in the truck and headed to Florida. And at that time, I noticed that she was having severe short-term memory problems. And her contract was coming to an end. So I told her, just don't renew, we're going home. And at that point, we didn't realize how difficult the journey was going to be. You know, we were still hoping that it was something minor and everything could be taken care of medically. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. As the disease continued to progress, she was unable to get work. So we wound up, this was during the housing crisis that went on in 2008, 2009. Couldn't give away a house, so we ended up filing bankruptcy and jumping in the motorhome, renting a U-Haul, and heading to Virginia to move in with our son and daughter-in-law and their 5 boys. And we've been with them now for 13 years, so it's been quite a journey. And as she has progressed on a regular basis, very fortunately, it's been slowly, but it's been 13 years that we've been dealing with this disease. And to be honest with you, there are days if I didn't have a close relationship with God through Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be able to make it. I rely on my faith to get me through these difficult periods. Currently, we have a caregiver, long-term caregiver, who comes in 5 days a week for 4 to 6 hours a day to help me to take care of. They go shopping, they go to the mall, they go to the park, they have a ball, they get along great, and it gives me the time to do the necessary things I need to do to take care of ourselves. Right now, we're reached the point in our progression where we're starting to look for a nursing home. And that's such a very, very difficult, first of all, it's a very, very difficult decision to come to. And secondly, it's just almost impossible to find a bed in a nursing home in Northern Virginia. So it's just a very, very terrible thing to have to go through. So we're on waiting list with the ones who take waiting lists, which are few. Most of them just say, keep calling back. Maybe we'll have a bed. Maybe somebody will pass away or leave or whatever. And so that's currently kind of where we stand. We started off life just very active with our horses and showing hunters and jumpers and fly fishing and traveling the mountains and camping. And now we've degenerated to the point where we sit at home and watch television or go for a ride through the park or up through Skyline Drive here in Virginia just to watch the leaves change. And that's about the extent that we're able to get out with her current disease. So, you know, you just take it day by day. You take it one day at a time. You do everything that you have the ability to do. We belong to a caregivers group over in Rappahannock County that we meet twice a week. Fortunately for Zoom, with COVID going on, we're still able to meet, comfort each other. And then the Fenwick Corp, they've been so great. Before COVID, we were going to the ballet and to the symphony, and they're just great organization to get involved with if you just need some relief. And we're looking forward to the facilities to start opening up again. I think we've got tickets to go see the Nutcracker through them. Is everybody hearing me? I've got a note that says I may have network problems.
We are able to hear you, Mr. Keel.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cut it short about there. So, you know, I'd be glad to answer any questions. It's, you know, when we got married, as I said, we'd both been married before. So this was for real. This is for the long haul. So that was the deal we got into. And, you know, it just, I've seen cases where it's just so easy to put people away and forget about them. And, you know, I'm just not able to do that. It's the nursing home decision was the hardest one I'd ever had to come to. So I'm going to leave with that. Be glad to answer any questions that anybody has. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kill. That was a very inspiring story, and thank you for sharing. Now I would like to call Sarah, if you could turn your camera on.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Sarah. And would you like to share with us a little bit about you, about your loved one, and how your caregiving journey began?
Yes, of course.
Do you have any slides that you want to share, or you don't have to if you don't have any?
I have a picture that I want to show everyone.
Okay.
Could you give me the permit to?
Yes, I will make it a presenter now.
Could you see the picture, everyone?
Yes, I see the picture.
Okay, perfect. Just let me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Juliana, and everyone, for having me today. I'm so happy to be in here, especially because I'm so glad to share my story, my experience, and all of the learning things that I am just having throughout this time. These two pictures that I show you, it's just my mom and I when we want to do something just different. Juliana, if I want to stop sharing the picture, how I can do that? Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah, because I can see my face. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm so glad to share my story, my experience, and my knowledge regarding Alzheimer's. I am Sarah. I moved here a couple of years ago. My professional background is project management, and I used to work in international companies and oversee different projects. 2 years ago, I changed gears, and then I became a designer with the idea to run my own business. Now I'm running my local pastry business here. Since I moved here, I have been volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association. I have been developing a stronger sense of devoting to support the Alzheimer's community. When my mother got the diagnosis of the Alzheimer's in 2019. Since then, I have been focused on supporting outreach programs for the Latin community mainly through the development of education materials, hosting training sessions, and facilitating caregiver support groups in Spanish. I believe that there is an opportunity to increase awareness and provide reliable information to people affected by this disease, one conversation at a time. My mom is 60 years old. She is a sweet woman, very sociable, and very friendly person. She got her diagnosis around 2 years ago, and since that day, all her life and our life as a caregiver is changing. Most of her life was with her kids, taking care of them. She left her professional career for becoming a 24-hour mom, and after we grew and become independent, and after we left the house, she started living by herself. She lost her husband young, around her 30s, and around her 50s, she started just a new life because she was living just by herself. She learned a lot of new things. She learned how to swim. She learned English. She was a student art painting. I remember that all of her paintings were just amazing. She used to be an independent woman, super sociable and active. I am telling all of this information but because I want to share how was my mom before she got the diagnosis. However, 3 years ago, I noticed that something happens with my mom. She used to be super organized person, but when I visit her, I just noticed that she was accumulating things. She was having problems with her bill payment, but she was always tries to find a solution or asking for help. For me, if you ask me, probably she knows that something is happening with her, but she just was trying to hiding in order that nobody asked her what happened with her. Um, for me, that I said before, she was just like a hiding. She's a smart girl, and then I mean that everyone knows how it works, that things. One time when I was in Mexico, one of her friends asked me to chat with me, just the two of us, and she told me that my mom was acting just different because sometimes my mom just visit her friend and start seeing it without stopping. Or my mom could not remember her favorite cookie, or my mom could not remember how can she count the money, the bills, or the coins. One day she forgot a surprise party, and suddenly she got upset without reason. For me, all of this type of behavior was something that is just different in my mom, because my mom never upset easily. My mom was always super organized. My mom was always super sociable. And then just one day stopped to do a lot of things. Even though that I always pushing her to do something different, she said, I don't want to do anything. At that point, I was thinking that probably my mom was depressed or something, but I was lucky because I was reading one document that shows the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer. And then I just noticed that my mom had 8 of 10. I, I called her a primary doctor, made an appointment, and then her doctor asked her for different exams. The doctor asked for the cognitive test, neurological exam, and the MRI. And then after this thing, we went to the doctor, and the doctor just confirmed that my mom has Alzheimer. I remember when the doctor told her, my mom's first reaction was on denial. She immediately forgot what the doctor told her. For me, was a confused moment because I didn't know what to do in that moment. I didn't know how to explain my mother what is happening. I just was super surprised, but at the same time, I just the first thing that comes to my mind was that but I was being volunteering in Alzheimer. I have a lot of information. I can support her. I can help her. And then I just realized that I have a mission, support my mom in this her new path, and of course help my Latino community with all of the things that I am learning. I think that sometimes things happen for something. We don't know after something just trigger and happen, and then you see that, oh, I know what I am doing here. I don't want to be emotional, but I want to say that I have a lot of I have for one part I have like my logical thinking that is, of course, it's a medical thing that we need to learn a lot of things, but at the same time it's my mom. So imagine sometimes it's just difficult to understand that your family is just losing a lot of things. And in my mom's situation, because she's in her first stage, she's just conscious about that. She knows that something happened. She knows that she needs to work every day in her cognitive activities, in her healthy life, in her all of her diet and everything. In our culture, as a Latin, when someone has dementia, we believe that is part of becoming older. We don't talk about Alzheimer. We don't talk about dementia. We don't ask for help. For us, it's just he or she, our relative, or is older. That's all. even for my family. I remember when my brother knows about that my mom has Alzheimer, he was on denial. I think he stopped to talk with her for almost 1 year. He didn't want to go with the doctor appointments. But at the end, we just need to accept that it's like this, and we need to support my mother. My sister and I become in caregivers to my mom. Sometimes I spend a lot of time in Mexico with her. The last 2 years, because was pandemic and everything, my mom was living with me 6 months, and then with my sister another 6 months. But after 1 year and a half, my mother asked me just to live in just one place. Now she is living close to my sister's house. It's just next door to her. My mom is living with her companion, and then my mom is trying to do her life just by herself. Obviously, it's not the same as in the past, but we want that these years my mom can live just by herself, doing her things. And my mom, for me, is a strong person. Sometimes she knows that she has something, but just sometimes she doesn't know that what happened with her. Every day is a challenge, because you don't know what will be happen the day. It's always something changing. Sometimes you think that you have a solution for one problem, but that the next day is another problem. One of the symptoms that has today in these times my mom is crying. Compared to other persons with the same illness, my mom is just crying. For me, it's just very sad to see her how is crying, because sometimes there are no way that I can say just don't cry, please. It's part of your illness and everything, no? And then she said that I know that something is happening, but I don't know why is the reason that I am crying. I think that as a caregiver and as I'm talking for my mom, it's just difficult. But I think with all of the love, with all of the experience, with all of the information that I am getting, I think my mother will be happy these coming years, and then I hope so that she can keep in the same level for at least a couple of years. But I don't know, but I am here just sharing my experience, and then I will be glad if someone uh, asks me some question about that. I will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you to the three of you for really giving us a little bit about, letting us learn about your life and what's been like for you to on this journey since all began. I'm really honored that you are all here and that you are so open and are taking us along your journey. So thank you so much. I wanted also to ask the three of you, and I don't know if Ms. Bevtards could share her camera. Ms. Bevtards, are you able to share your camera?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask the three of you, and you've mentioned a little bit about that, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the challenges that you have faced along the way as a caregiver, and also some of the lessons that you have learned. We can start with Ms. Bevtards, and then we'll move onto Mr. Kiel, and then finally we'll move on to Sarah.
Well, this kind of life, as everyone has kind of pointed to, can be very overwhelming. When Frederick got sick, I also had my 91-year-old mother, and I was working. Sometimes I had him in one of them in ICU and the other in intensive care. After work, I'd go stay with Fred at the nursing home, and I'd get someone to stay with Mom. She failed once, so the nursing home, in that instance, they helped us out because they put her in the same one that he was in at the time. So I wouldn't have to run back and forth. You have to find a way to center yourself. Like I say, I had two people with all these medical decisions. Sometimes they were life and death decisions. The doctors ask you, what do you want to do? What do you want? Because I had, with him, they weren't good. Traditionally, that person with that kind of injury, some doctors, depending upon who you meet in the emergency room, would have walked away and not gone. So they try to see if you're going to be push and you're going to be able to care for your family, and you have to advocate. So you have to find a way to stay grounded, because one day is one way, the other day is next day. You're up and down there. Many times they told me she won't make it till tomorrow. And I go back the next day, they're fine. So I mean, you are up and down. So what worked for me, and I didn't know it would work to that extent. As a child, I was taught to have faith and hope. And so I had to find my center. And I'll tell you, faith and hope and a refusal to give up is what has kept me going. Secondly, I learned to compartmentalize. There were days that there's so many things going on that I just said, wait, I'm gonna make it to the next hour. And I checked and I looked, the hour was there. I was still there. They were still here, because I mean, death was around the door all the time. And sometimes it still is, okay? So, so I made it to the hour. Then I said, I can make it to the end of the day. So sometimes it's to the next minute, the next 10 minutes, the next hour. But compartmentalize helps you mentally get through some difficult times. Secondly, you have to learn to compartmentalize your task or what you're focusing on, because there's many things you have to deal with. So one of my rules is focus on the most pressing thing at the time. The other can wait. You're not on the same schedule as the rest of the world. You may as well forget. You may as well accept that. And that leads to the other thing, acceptance of your situation. If you have, it's just a part of life. If you have a pity party, it just doesn't help, okay? Because it makes you feel worse. So try every day to feel and see, the good and the blessings. I know that might sound naive, but I'm gonna tell you, you have to tell yourself good stuff or you'll never make it. Just refuse to stress out. Some days I know I would come in and I said, okay, I just lay down my burden. I refuse to think about the negative. Okay, I just let me get through. So be easy on yourself too. I tell people, it's not your fault. It's not your loved one's fault. And when people say they're going to help you, be specific because they don't understand. Unless they've experienced it, and most people don't. I think they try, but So also your caregiving communities online, they automatically understand what you're going through. And you'll see people in worse situations than you. And so, but really, they already understand what you're going through. Your faith community also, reach out to them. They're helpful. I know I do, and they can be helpful. Next, I tell people, don't listen to every negative thing the medical people tell you, okay? Because they're beautiful, they're wonderful, we need them. But there's some real negative ones. You know your loved one. So, you also, you have to just not be stressed by every negative thing. And get out of the house when you can and be creative in trying to do things for yourself when you're stuck in the house. Sometimes I just go up to the third floor and get in the room by myself and just, do something like look at some movie or something like that. Now, my last thing is important because I was able to get my husband off of, I used to give him insulin shots every day. Food is really important in the healing process for people like this. He improved so much when we got him home and we give him no processed foods, and we have to cook fresh foods every day. So, I mean, that's my spiel. That's worked for me. It's not easy. I've showed it a lot myself, and but you can live. You can get through it. And I hope I can just pray for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bevtards. That was very enlightening and very inspiring too, encouraging. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing those pieces of wisdom with us. Mr. Keel, would you like to share?
Sure. I relate to so many things that Benita said. When my wife was first diagnosed, as I said, we had gone through difficult financial times. We had no insurance. It was very, very frustrating to try to find any kind of care for her. We were fortunate in locating a St. Luke's clinic here in Front Royal, Virginia, who accepted her as a patient. And they gave us the diagnosis that we were hopefully not expecting to hear, and got us connected with the University of Virginia Medical Center in Charlottesville, who it goes out of their way to help people get treatment or whatever. And I can go into that a little later on if anybody's interested in that process. But when she was diagnosed, of course, then we got her a doctor here locally, and we weren't able to get any real financial help till she was 62 and went on Medicare. And at that point, then things started happening as far as treatment with a local doctor and MRI with UVA and things like that are, very expensive processes. And her primary doctor told us 13 years ago that generally people with her diagnosis had 1 to 2 years longevity. That's what we could expect. Well, she's been kicking for 13 years now, so you can't, like Benita said, you can't always listen to those medical experts. And so at that point, we made a conscious decision to not keep it secret. We belong to several, organizations like the Isaac Walton Foundation, Trout Unlimited, people who saw changes in her happening. So we allowed the Alzheimer's to come out in the open, so that it wasn't a shock to anybody, and they accepted her, and she was loved everywhere. When we went to our different functions, she was loved and looked after by these folks. And instead of being ostracized and shoved off in the corner like there's something wrong with that crazy lady over there, they gave her napkins to fold or silverware to put on the table or some function that she could handle just fine. And this went on for years. And son and daughter-in-law are involved in it. They and the grandsons know what's going on. They know that Granny is sick. They know it's a progressive disease, and they know it's not going to get any better. There's all kinds of things on YouTube and through the Alzheimer's website that you can find to help you deal with these different situations, how to handle bathing problems, toileting problems, dressing problems, all these different things that change as the disease progresses. And when they just throw a tantrum and say, I'm not going to get in the shower, then what are you going to do? You need to know to learn methods and how to deal with this. And there's plenty of them. I mean, if you go to the Alzheimer's Foundation website, there's plenty of video that teach you these things. Join a caregivers group. Somebody where there are people that are dealing with the same things you're dealing with that you can openly express yourself to and not worry about being frowned on or looked down on or anything about the things you're going through, because they've all been there. I even know one guy who had to get help milking his goat, because his wife couldn't do it anymore. So, you know, I mean, you find humor in the situation where you can, and you deal with it on a daily basis. You can see her taking her nap on the bed here. She's on a new medication, and I used to get upset about things like that. And now I just learned to accept them because she's not bothering me and she's not bothering her. She's just off somewhere else. She loves to get in the car and drive and go and to get out. And as much as possible that we try to do those things. We have a regular little greasy spoon restaurant that we go to every Saturday. They know her, they accept her, and the girls that wait on the tables there, they are all very more that go out of their way to love on her and you know show her that everything's fine. And you look for those situations for your loved one where they can be made to feel like they are an important part of what's going on in the world. You know, it's not always easy to do. Sometimes you just want to just get up and beat your head up against the wall. You reach a point in dealing with a situation to where you don't have an answer. Instead of beating your head, you need to learn patience and need to learn to go find the answer. The answer, somebody knows the answer. If you just are determined enough and look hard enough, you'll find out how somebody else that has dealt with this situation that can help you with it. And that's what gets me through the day. I mean, like Benita said, I was taught faith in the church when I was growing up as a small child. I got away from it for a while, but I tell you what, Alzheimer's will bring you back to God real quick. And because there's days when if I didn't have my Savior, I wouldn't even get up in the morning. I mean, you know, that sounds terrible, but it reaches that point where all I have to say is, Lord, it's in your hands today. I'm not dealing with it. You just get me through today and get me through this situation because I can't do it anymore. It's all on you. And I trust him to take care of whatever's going on that day. And, you know, I don't want to start preaching because I sure can, but I'm going to leave it to, you know, open for anybody who has any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kill. That was very powerful. Thank you for sharing with us. I would like to invite Sarah as well, if she could share her screen with us. Sarah, if you could talk a little bit about some of the challenges and lessons that you have learned before we open the panel to the audience.
Yes, of course, Juliana. Yes, I was turned off my camera because my mom was calling me because she was crying. Every day is just different that I said before. I am taking care of her in from here, and sometimes I just use a lot of technology tools to do that, but it's just difficult because it's not the same when you are uh, with your relative in person, and then you can handle the situation easier. So for me, it's just difficult to do that because sometimes if I am doing whatever I want and then my mom called me and just when I listen that is crying is the first thing that comes with my mom is stop doing what I am doing. I just need to pay attention what she needs, how I can uh, talk with her. Sometimes I just lose the lost the control because imagine me you are doing something that is important and then for another hand on the other hand your mom is calling you. But anyway, it's just difficult. It is something that is not easy. My sister is taking care of her in Mexico, but my sister is working every day. My mom is living with her companion, but her companion is so young and she doesn't have enough experience to deal with some specific situations. And I think as a direct family, you know your, even though that is has this illness, you know you know your in my case, I know my mom. I know how to handle sometimes. Sometimes it's, oh my gosh, I don't know, this is something new. I don't know how to do that. But I am learning. There are a lot of challenges. In my situations, culture is a challenge. The other thing is the distance is a challenge. Dealing with the idea that someone is with her, but that person doesn't have enough experience because she's learning and she's still young and is not her mom is a big, big challenge. In Mexico, sometimes it's just difficult to find people that knows about the illness. And when you find someone, that person is just saying, okay, I have the information, I have the knowledge and everything, and the cost is very high. And then is when you just think in your mind what will be the best, pay someone that can handle, I suppose that I can handle that situation, so some specific situation, or just teach someone. I don't know. But anyway, I am using, that I said before, I am using a lot of technology tools. I put some cameras in my mom's house. At the beginning, I hesitate to do that because it's something personal, but my mom just insists to live by herself because in her mind, she said, I know that I have Alzheimer or something, but I can live by myself. I can do everything by myself. But when one month ago, I was in Mexico and then I was cooking with my mom, and then just she forgot a lot of things when she was cooking. For me, no, you cannot live by yourself. It will be just dangerous. Even though that I put many cameras around you, I cannot live all of the time with my phone just watching that if my mom is okay or if she's in different place. But anyway, the other thing that is a challenge too, that is just find a good doctor. We were lucky because we find a good one, and he is just stray, and then he said just she needs to take her pills, and that's all. She just needs to take care of herself. Just try to that she eats healthy food, but this is that the doctor said. But my mom said, no, I don't want this type of food. So just it's difficult because the behavior is changing every day. Even though when you think that everything is okay, the next day is different. And then the next day is different. I am a part of a support group when I am sharing all of my experience and I receive a lot of advices, and I think it's good for me. But at the same time, I'm a leader of one support group, and sometimes I just want to cry. I just want to cry and say, oh my gosh, it's a lot, no? But I always try to see the positive things about this because it's just learning. If you as a family are on denial and you don't accept that you need help and you need to listen other to learn, probably it will be more difficult. There are a lot of resources that we can use, and thanks for the pandemic because all of the things that we can do is virtual, and this is good because we can get all of that information. As a volunteer in Alzheimer, I got a lot of information. I am always reading articles and everything. That I said before, I am a part of different support groups too. If I have like an emergency, I call to the 24-hour line. And in Mexico, we are so lucky because my sister find that we have an association, an Alzheimer association too. So now I have more information and everything, but I don't know, it's a illness that is, that I need to accept that there are some days that are super happy, but other days is not like happy. But it's, I just want to summarize this. There are good days and bad days, but the most important thing is always focus in our family. In my case, in my mom, is just taking time for both of us just to learn this new path. But I always think that I know alone. I'm not the only one that has a mom with Alzheimer. There are a lot of people that have the same situation as me. And then if someone can handle, I can handle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you to the three of you, because such a powerful lessons, a lot of challenges with this journey, but also a lot of lessons along the way. And I'm sure that the people who are in our audience right now have questions, and we have a very short time. Unfortunately, we are close to the end of the hour, but I do want to address a couple of questions that were sent to us. One of the questions actually, let me see if I can get these questions for you. One of the questions for the two people who have their loved ones with the diagnosis of Alzheimer's, what type of evaluations or what type of diagnostic testing was done to determine the diagnosis that they had Alzheimer's? Mr. Kiel and Sarah, if you could answer that question.
Well, they did the standard Alzheimer's test through the doctor's office. They did a memory test where you look at pictures and items, and then they come back a few minutes later and ask you what you saw. And then there was another test. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was a long, long time ago. And then there was the MRI. That was the basic thing that determined when they actually do the brain scan and see what your brain looks like, they can determine what's going on. And basically, those are the three items. But the memory test, there's three tests I think the doctor gives you when you go in, and those are pretty determined. They will determine pretty quickly. I think you can even find them on the internet.
Yeah. In my situation, there were four tests. What the neurologist asked us for the MRI, neurological one, the other was the cognitive, and the other was the psychologist. Because the doctor said that sometimes there are a certain symptoms that they will confuse with some type of depressed illness or something, but this is the reason that they ask for this for a test. And then as we got all of the results, he explained us every test. In my mom's situation, when we saw her MRI, her left part of her brain was just decreasing, and we can see that.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We do have another question, and this is for the three of you. It says, how have you managed becoming a parent or a spouse to someone who has changed basically their personalities? Specifically in the case of Mr. Kiel and Sarah, but also Ms. Bevtards, you have become the caregiver for your husband, and that relationship does change. So how do you become, in your case, Sarah and Mr. Kiel, how do you become a parent to your parent? That's the question here. But and in your case, Ms. Bevtards, how do you handle that different dynamic now? Because now your husband relies completely on you. If you all three want to answer that, let's start with Ms. Bevtards.
That's a very difficult question, but yes, it's a thing that you get used to. Yes, the dynamic has changed a lot, and I must admit that every day I'm getting used to that fact. I think, like I said, you just accept the way things are, and don't even take it beyond that, because like I said before, it's not his fault, it's not my fault. Yeah, I'm in a caretaking situation, It's not the traditional husband, wife, but you know, this is a part of my family and this is what I must do. And it is what it is. That's just how I look at it. And just go from there. Because if I try, I can't change it, you know. So
Mm.
I'll stress myself out.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that. Accept it and just don't think beyond that.
Yes.
I like that. Mr. Kill, would you like to address the question as well?
Well, you know, as a man, I have maybe a different perspective, but you know, as a husband, that relationship has been gone for 13 years. She understands, she recognizes me now. She hasn't known my name in years, but she recognizes me as the person who loves her, protects her, and takes care of her. And as far as, you know, it becomes a caregiver situation more so than a spouse. You know, it's like I've got a toddler to take care of. At 78 years old, I'm now taking care of a toddler who has a pretty strong mindset of her own and about what she wants to do and what she will do and so on and so forth. And it's fading more and more every day to the point that you know, that's I keep going back to God, but you know, it's that acceptance that He gives me of this situation that allows me to deal with it without my faith. You know, I understand that it's a disease, that I can't change it, that it progresses, that it's going to get, you know, I understand that, but that doesn't change my inner emotion, my feelings, my needs, the things, my life that I have to put aside to take care of her. So if I don't have the faith to believe that He has put me here for that purpose,
Yes. Yes.
then I would go nuts, you know. And but He allows me, He gives me the patience every day to deal with it, and it's like the old saying goes, accept the things that you cannot change. Change the things you can, but accept the things that you cannot change and put them in His hands to deal with. And that's what I do on a daily basis.
Thank you, Mr. Kiel. A very different point of view for sure. Especially like you said, you are a male, and the relationship between you and your wife is very different. So thank you for sharing. Sarah, would you like to follow?
Yes, of course. It's just difficult. I learned a phrase. Is that when said that your mom is not it's your mom, but it's not still your mom. It's just difficult to explain that, but it's true. It's my mom because I see that it's my mom, but it's not my mom. It's like Mr. Gill said, it's like a taking care like a kid. You're with is negotiating situations. Sometimes it's, if I give you this one, you should do that. And then she's like, okay. Sometimes she's super conscious. She's just acting like a mom that, no. You have to obey me. I am your mom. And then the next day is, I am your kid again. But it's what it is. It's nothing that I can do. And then all of the things that I can do, I am doing. And then for me, she's my mom. And then I really want to take care of her. I am finding a lot of tools to do that. Living here in United States, and my mom living in Mexico City, and then my mom never just left me. My mom's always taking care of me, and then all of the time that she was with me when I was kid, I'm probably doing the same thing, just negotiating and giving me all of her time and everything is the same that I want to do with her. I remember that I was a kid, like I always was with her, crying with her. So imagine, I always tell her, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that now, but I always think, but she did. When I was kid, I always with her, the mom, 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 mom. It's what it is. So we just need to accept that. Nothing that we can do. This is progressive. She will change through the time, probably. She will forget my name, but I know that always will exist the emotional connection. And that Mr. King said, we have our logical part that said this is an illness, this is progressive, but at the same time, we are humans, we have feelings, and that feelings sometimes are fighting with the logical thing, but it's what it is, and we are here for something is happening.
Thank you so much for to the three of you, because I am just so inspired by your stories, and you're very courageous. The three of you are, and I really thank you for sharing your time. We have gone over the hour, and if our audience doesn't mind, we have one last question that came up, and I thought it's very important to ask you this question. And I don't know if you can very quickly kind of address this question for the three of you. And let's start with Ms. Bevtard. You all three have talked about the challenges and how, you know, the emotional connections and the changes that you see that person going through, and you really cannot rely on that person like you did before in your previous relationship, in this case husband wife, husband, and daughter mom. And so the question is, how are you from an emotional standpoint? Have you sought out therapy? How do you handle that emotional side? Ms. Bevtard, can you start with this question?
Yes. Yes, you have a person that is not the person that you used to know, but it's a person there. I'll just have to go back to my faith again, because I really haven't sought out therapy. But you know, I've been always a pretty insightful person. I benefited from therapy early in life, and they taught me how to assess where I am, you know, and how to be. So at this point, I feel I didn't need. I don't think I've needed therapy, but I'm saying that you every day you do struggle with that change in the relationship, and I still have to go back to faith. That is the thing that has gotten me through this, and that constant and a positive attitude and the hope. And then in terms of social things, I do try to reach out and stay connected. I stay connected with a lot of my friends from high school, college, online, stuff like that. And I do try to go out and do sometimes social things for myself, get with some friends. But that is a constant challenge. And I got to get more creative, I guess. But acceptance and faith and hope. And I felt like my mom and my husband, I was there for them because they were always people that did everything. They were like, in their families, she was like matriarch. She helped everybody. He helped everybody. So I made the decision that, you know, I would be there for them when they couldn't. So the struggle is real. How can I say? But faith will get you through it.
Thank you, Ms. Bevtard. Mr. Keel?
Well, I was thinking earlier in construction when I got injured, she was there for me. She was by my side. Different situation altogether. Mine was a physical injury that would somewhat heal. Hers is a disease that's not going to heal. But yeah, I deal with it. Basically, I have a lot of friends and acquaintances who are dealing with this disease or something similar. I do a lot of caregivers groups, either online or in person. I have a lot of Facebook. I got 4,000 Facebook friends that I communicate with. That keeps me busy. I clean my guns. You know, I do the things that make me happy. I have my toys that I play with. And you just, you know, I love, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Let me just get that out. I've been sober for 48 years, ever since we got married. I learned how to take care of myself and live life many years ago through that program. It's given me the ability to accept what's going on and the ability to take care of her come from the things I learned in the 12-step program and reliance on God. That's my story. And I live a celibate life. That's my choice. My brother's wife had Parkinson's, late-term Parkinson's. He had girlfriends that took care of his problems. But I didn't choose to go that route. She's my wife. I love her regardless of the change that I have to deal with. I'll be here till the end, you know. And that's just where I am. But you have to learn that. You just have to, on a daily basis, every day when you get up, you have to just accept that this is what life is now for you today. Don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, but this is what it is today. Accept it and go on and live today with what you got, you know. And that's the only way I know to answer that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kyo. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Sarah, would you like to answer next our question?
Yes, sure. First of all, I'm so lucky because I have the best husband ever. He's always support me. And then even though that I'm not taking some therapy, but I always talk with him about this situation, and he's always listen me. And if I need to travel to Mexico and stay some days with my mom, he's always support me. Or the other way, my mom needs to come for a few days, he's always support that decision. On the other hand, I am part of some support groups that I said before as a leader, and then as a part of the support group too. And baking is like a therapy for me, so this is the reason that I just run my business, because for me baking is like a therapy. Just thinking in the ingredients, in everything, help me to forget for a little bit that happened. And this is the way that I just managing the stress situations, and just having time for me, and of course doing exercise.
Thank you so much to the three of you. I have learned so much today, and I really hope that our audience was able to learn as well, to learn new tips, to learn resources, and to know that they are not alone on this journey, because it can be a very isolating and lonely journey. So one of the things that I have learned from you is to acceptance of the situation, connection, emotional connection to the person you love, and also connection with others who are going through the same situation, and to attend support groups, and to find something that you love, that you're passionate about. Either baking, cooking, or in this case, cleaning guns, or just sharing time with your faith community. So thank you so much. And I really want to thank you for your time, for being here with us, for sharing your experience, your challenges, your lessons. And so I want to thank our audience as well for being with us. We are past the hour, but oh my goodness, I could continue to ask you many questions, but I won't, because I know that people have so many things to do. And I really appreciate this time with all of you. And thank you so much to our audience for being here, for sharing an hour of your day with us. We know that you are caregivers and you are also busy. So thank you so much. If you could take a moment and fill out our survey, because it really helps us provide topics that you are interested in. And until then, thank you to all of you, and please be well. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.